I don't know how to start this video. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Colette and welcome to a happy place. If this is the first video you're seeing of me, I'm sorry to be such a downer, but recently I found myself really having the need to talk about mental health and spread awareness about mental health. And I was recently reminded that May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month. And I always felt like I would talk about this eventually, but not as such a small channel where I felt like no one was gonna care. But then I realized I don't really care about that. I decided to make this video explaining my own personal mental health journey because when it all started for me, I wished that there was someone on a platform like YouTube that I felt like I was constantly on who talked about what was going on with them, because I didn't know what was happening to me when it started and I had no answers, and I felt like no matter how hard I searched, I couldn't find the answers. And I was fairly young, so I wouldn't say I was super resourceful, but like, if someone out there is watching this and feels the same way that I used to, then they're just reminded that they are not alone, and this is a thing that so many people go through. And if just one person hears this and it makes them feel not alone, it removes that part, or it helps them not feel the way that I did, then this is completely worth it. My god. I'm like sweating. I don't know why I'm nervous about this. If I cry during this video, oh my god. We'll start with this. So I am 15. My mental health journey started when I was 13. So 2 years ago, coming up on 3. So when I was in 7th grade, I'm a sophomore in high school now, my uncle passed away unexpectedly. We found out about over a year after he passed away that his liver had failed, and when this happened, it was extremely unexpected, like very unexpected. I think he was 60, like just no one could ever have seen this coming. And I had a lot of emotions running through me at that time. Obviously it hurts really bad to lose someone that you love, especially when you have like no way of preparing yourself for it. You know, like sometimes when someone passes away, they've been sick for a while or they're in the hospital, and you have time to mentally prepare. But when someone just passes away, it's hard. So initially, obviously, I was just like in grief, and I just missed him a lot, and I couldn't believe that he was gone and I wasn't gonna get to see him again, and that the last time I saw him and the last time I said goodbye was really the last time. And then it became a kind of self-loathing thing. I started regretting all of these decisions that I made when he was around, like not hanging out with him more, or when we were at his house, like staying up in my room that I was sleeping in and not coming down to hang out with him because like he was watching football and I didn't want to watch it. And I just felt terrible. I felt like I missed out on so much time that I could have had with him, and now he was just gone and there was no way to like make up for it. And this went on for months, and it started getting really bad, but I was just, it was very conflicting because I was like, I just missed, like, every time I became upset, I just went to, oh, it must be about my uncle. And halfway through my 7th grade year, I like stopped going to school. I couldn't walk out my front door without like bursting into tears, and I didn't really know what it was, so I just kept telling my mom, I miss my uncle, I miss him. And I remember one time I had stayed home that morning. I was basically doing half days or just not coming to school at all. And so my mom was like, okay, it's time to go to school. So I left and I was walking to the bus stop, and I made it maybe halfway down my block, and I burst into tears again, and I just ran back home and I said, Mom, I can't. And she just, honestly, my mom was like my rock. Especially in the beginning, she just did whatever she could to support me, even though I think she was as confused as I was. And then people started noticing that I wasn't showing up to school, and it also turned into this thing where not only was I just like upset and couldn't figure it out, but just blamed it on grief. I was also getting bullied in 7th grade, and I didn't really have any friends in my class, and so I was just being made fun of a lot, and it became a fear of going to school just because I didn't want to be made fun of. So one day it was another day that I came to school late, and we were switching classes, and my teacher said, Colette, like, can I talk to you? And so she brought me out into the hallway while like all these students are like switching classes, and she was like, you know, like what's going on? Like, you haven't been showing up to school, like what's going on? And I just immediately burst into tears in front of all of these people who were like walking down the hallway, and I was just bawling my eyes out. And I just said, I'm scared to come to school. I'm being made fun of, I'm being bullied, and I don't want to come to school anymore. So we ended up setting up a meeting with my teacher, and I can laugh at it now, but we essentially I had a restraining order on the people that were bullying me, and it was like the typical culprits. Like, these were like the popular people in school, and they just thought they were better than everybody else, and I was not what you would call popular, so I was then made fun of. And they just like weren't nice people in general, and I didn't like them beforehand, but then they like actually started targeting me and bullying me, and it just was not a good situation. So basically all of the teachers were informed of what was going on, and none of these people that were bullying me were allowed to sit next to me, be anywhere near me, be in a group with me, sit at a table with me. They were just not allowed to come in contact with me, and all of my teachers were aware of this. So even though that happened, I still wasn't doing well. I don't know, I still wasn't really coming to school. And then 8th grade came, and I was still not really doing well, but I had a glow up, apparently, but my self-confidence was still very low. I wasn't really worried about like bullies anymore or anything. I just wasn't doing well. And then I don't like, yeah, I'd like probably say at the beginning of 8th grade, I started, oh my god, I'm like shaking. I started having these visions. I'm just gonna put a trigger warning on this because I was suicidal, so this part could be triggering to people, so that's like a warning. I started having visions of myself being killed. So the one that I particularly remember, it's actually the only one that I remember. All the other ones I kind of blocked from my memory, so I don't actually remember them anymore. But I was walking down the street and I took the bus to school every day. Well, unless it was like a nice day, and then I would just walk because my middle school was pretty close. So that day I was taking the bus because it was like pouring rain. And there's this like little, at the bus stop there was like this little outlet from one of the buildings that the bus stop was in front of. So I had my umbrella and I was like standing under there. And all of a sudden everything just went like very foggy, and then it cleared up. And I saw myself walk into the street and get hit by a bus. So that was weird, and I don't know, it made me feel off. And then I would also have these things that were like trances where I was watching I felt like I lost control of my body. And I know this all sounds like very strange, but mental health is just this weird thing that feels very unexplainable. But apparently this is actually kind of normal, so I'm very curious to see if anyone else has gone through what I went through. But basically I was making cookies in my kitchen, and I was washing utensils in the sink, and I was just washing all of the dishes that were in there. So even stuff that like I hadn't actually used for baking, I was just washing all of the dishes. And so there was like, I don't know if you have like sharper knives for, wait, okay, hold on. So I was washing one of those steak knives. They're sharper knives. You use them to cut like tougher pieces of meat. And then it was like this trance, and I was watching myself, but I felt like I didn't have any control over my body, and so I brought the knife up to my wrist. I didn't actually cut myself. I snapped out of it and I threw the knife back into our kitchen sink, and I ran over to the other end of my kitchen and just kind of dropped onto the floor. I was crying because I scared the shit out of myself. I scared myself so badly because like I was like, I didn't want to hurt myself was the thing. My intention was never to hurt myself, but I was like, am I going to hurt myself, because I felt like I had no control over my body. And then for some reason there was a sewing needle on the floor of my kitchen where I was sitting, so I ended up picking that up too and almost poked myself in the wrist, which definitely wouldn't have done as much damage as cutting myself, but I found that, and then I was able to put it down again. So then I ended up calling my friend who I knew was kind of struggling with similar like depression, and so I called her because I really did not know what else to do, and I told her what happened. I was like, I don't know what to do, like I don't want to die, like I don't want to hurt myself. and I was just crying. And so the first person that I actually told about the first person I actually told about this was my twin brother. And I told him because we're pretty close, and I was very scared of worrying anyone in my family. Like, I wasn't even gonna tell him. But so I told him, I said, you cannot tell mom and dad though. I don't want to scare them. I don't want them to be worried. And he didn't. And I think that lasted for probably about 2 months. But my parents very quickly caught on to the fact that there was something wrong with me, because I was constantly making jokes about being depressed. I was like, haha, it's fine, I'm just depressed. And it was just this like natural instinct to like I don't know, like I just thought that was just my way of dealing with it, joking about it. And so one day we were sitting at dinner and I said this. I was like, haha, it's okay, I'm just depressed. And my mom was like, Colette, like, sit down, like, is there something going on? And so I told her, and she was like, Colette, we're gonna get you help. And I cannot express how grateful I am to have parents that, even if they don't completely understand, they will always try and support me as much as they possibly can. And it's really difficult on them, and sometimes they slip up and sometimes they mess up, but I love them for even just trying and giving me the help that I need and accepting that this is something that I am going through and struggling with. So my mom immediately started reaching therapists, reaching out to my friends that had therapists, trying to find me one. And eventually we did, and I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I did not, like, when you first go into therapy, you just like spill your guts to them. Like, I wasn't even telling majority of my friends about this. I think I had only told my one friend who I called because I just panicked. And like, I just was terrified. I was like, I don't know, like, therapists aren't going to judge you. They're just there to help you. But immediately I was like, oh my god, I'm telling a stranger about all of these like strange things that are happening to me. Like, they're gonna think I'm crazy. They're gonna think that something's wrong with me. Like, it was just, I was absolutely terrified. And later on I would figure out that I had social anxiety, but that's another thing. So I came in and I was terrified, and I almost cried multiple times, but I didn't because I didn't want to cry in front of this total stranger, and my mom was in there with me, and she luckily was a good fit for me. She's been my therapist since 8th grade, so almost 2 years now, and I love her. She's great. So I was progressively getting better. Actually, I think after only about 3 or 4 months, I stopped having these like suicidal visions, and it was just like I already felt like I was doing better, but there was still a lot of things for me to work through. And I think I only really hit some sort of point maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. So basically after almost 2 years of therapy. Sometimes it happens quicker for some people. For me, it took a really long time. So fast forward to this year, we worked through a lot of things like my anxiety from auditions, my anxiety of needles, which is a really big thing that we might still have to be working on, but and currently, I don't know, it's more just, I mean, we've been talking about quarantine, but about 3 or 4 months ago, I cried for the first time in therapy, and I realized just how far I had come and how proud of myself I was for how far I had come. And it was weird because after after that, my first time crying in therapy, we thought that like I'd got it. Like I was, you know, like I had finally kind of cracked the code. But then it kind of just got me thinking, and I felt like I went back to when I first came into therapy. 3 or 4 months ago, I went through a really difficult time. A really, really, really difficult time. Everything hit 10 times harder than it would normally, and I was again not showing up to school. I was crying basically every single day. I can't remember a day that I wasn't crying. And I also realized that I didn't remember what it helped. I also realized that I didn't remember what it felt like to feel genuinely happy. That I felt like I hadn't felt genuinely happy in 2 years, and I didn't remember what that felt like to be genuinely happy. And I became legitimately suicidal again. I started thinking that the only way I could fix things was if I just wasn't here. That the only option to get rid of everything that felt like it was hurting me was to just disappear. And luckily I have never actually inflicted self-harm. I used to have a rubber band on my wrist that I would snap a lot, but I have never actually hurt myself, and I feel very lucky about that. But it was awful. I was just crying every day. I could not deal with anything. And my teacher started noticing. I like stopped doing homework. In fact, my teachers noticed so much that they like noticed that my mood was so much lower than it had been before. And so that is when my therapist brought up the idea of antidepressants, because I had been depressed for 2 years. So this was obviously something that was just, it was with me, and we had done a lot of work, and this just seems like the next step. And at first I was really scared of antidepressants. I thought, no, absolutely not. Like it's gonna change me. Like I don't want to be forced. I don't want a magic pill that's gonna like make me feel happy. Like I actually want to be happy. And then my therapist started explaining it to me, what it does, everything like that, and I realized that this could be a good thing for me. So I have been on antidepressants for it's May, I think almost 5 months now, and I remember, I think maybe after a month of being on antidepressants, I remember I was sitting in my bed and I just started crying, like out of nowhere. I just started crying, and then I realized that I was crying because I remembered. That day I was sitting in my bed and I finally felt genuinely happy for the first time in 2 years. And I cried because I realized that I had gone without that for such a long time, and I couldn't believe it. And I was so happy that I could feel that emotion again, feel an emotion other than sad and depressed. And I was just bawling my eyes out. I was so happy. I called my parents, who I don't remember where they were, but I called my parents and I left them a voicemail of me just crying, and I was like, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. My parents they came home genuinely concerned. They were like, are you okay? Like, we heard your voicemail of you crying on the phone. I was like, I'm just really happy. And I can't express how proud I am of myself. After 2 years of fighting with myself, of just completely giving up, not once did I hurt myself physically. And, you know, maybe I still have a long way to go. But I made it through the super dark pitch black tunnel, and I'm in the light. I came out the other end of the tunnel, and even though there's a path that I still have to follow and I still have to go down, I'm out of that tunnel. And I wasn't really sure if I was ever going to get out. I didn't know how this was going to end. I didn't know if it was going to end because I made it, and if I was going to hurt all of the people around me ending it, or if I was going to get better. And I am so happy that I got better. I got better. And I still have hard days all of the time. All of the time. But I can now see the good in things, the good in the life that I have. I can pull myself back to happy because I remember what it feels like now. And the amount of genuine smiles that I've had in the past 5 months is more than I had in the past 2 years. And I don't think I could ask for anything more. So, I know there are so many people out there, younger, older than me, that are going through similar things, and or have gone through similar things. And I wished that at the beginning, when I thought that I was going crazy or that there was something terribly wrong with me, that I had seen a video like this one, because then maybe I would have gotten help sooner. Maybe I could have avoided a lot of pain that I inflicted upon myself. So, if you're watching this, whether you're suicidal, depressed, have anxiety, whatever it is, whatever, you don't even have to have a mental health disorder. You are so worth it. You are worth it more than you know. There is no one else like you on our earth. You are the only you. And we can't replace you, no matter how hard we try. And because of that, we don't want to lose you, ever. I know it's hard. Trust me, I know. But I hope my story shows that there is an end, or at least a lightness. It's out there for you. It's not impossible. It's attainable. It's reachable. And you might have to fight really, really hard for it, but trust me when I say it's so worth it. It's so worth it. And I think the reason that I try spreading so much positivity on my channel is because I don't want anyone to ever have to feel the way I did. And I know that's a big thing to say and a hard thing to say. And I know that I can probably never fix that. But if just kind words from me helps even a little bit, then it's all worth it. So that is my mental health journey. I still have a long way to go, a lot of social anxiety, panic attacks to get through, a lot of days that I just might not be myself, but I see the light now and I'm doing so much better. And I have been suicide thoughts free for 5 months. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Remember to stay positive and smile. I love you guys so much. Bye.